is Tracy Swedlow, and this is Televisionation. I am really excited to meet the storied and veteran tech entrepreneur, Halsey, who is the CEO of a company called Live Planet, which is at liveplanet.net. And of course, you'll probably recognize Halsey's name. He founded CNET and all kinds of other stuff. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Live Planet is going to hopefully, according to you, revolutionize the TV business, the video business, the streaming, the VOD business. What's going on? You're still in the TV business? I mean, CNET, or, there's so many things that you have taken on, but why are you embracing revolutionizing video distribution, encoding? Explain to me what you're about to do and how you're going to.
Yeah, you just reminded me that it's interesting because, I mean, a lot of people remember me because of CNET, because I built a internet content company into a $500 million a year NASDAQ 100 company. So that obviously got people's attention. But as you were saying that, I was thinking about it. That's not actually, that was actually not the larger achievement I did in internet content. I also had to build the software to do web publishing, and I spun that out, and we kept 35% of that company, and they went on to become an $11 billion company. So CNET was an $8 billion company, and they went on to be an $11 billion company. So
what was the name of the company that
called Vignette, and the product was called Story
yes.
Server.
I remember. Yeah.
That was we served stories, and that's how it went. So people don't realize we actually created the industry of web publishing more so. Now, I mean, we also did very well in publishing. We were always in the top 10 in the world in terms of traffic, and did very well there. But we also built the infrastructure that was responsible, and so it is.
But wait, was that a comprehensive CMS? Is that what that was?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was the only working product. They were the fastest growing company to $500 million in revenue in history in enterprise software. They were about. I left CNET in February of 2000. I was the co-founder of Salesforce. They launched in January. I left in February. I was the second largest shareholder at Salesforce. It's been 4.5 years doing that. But when I left in February of 2000, the stock we owned in Vignette was worth $11.5 billion. So it was a hugely successful build and spin out, and then they dominated the web publishing business. And the reason that was possible was because we created the software. We were in the business. So I think I said in Business Week, it was software built by a customer for a customer. And so we knew exactly what to build.
But are you out of that? Are you out of that company? Do you have stock in that, or what happened?
Oh my God! It's I mean, I since then, yeah. So I mean, I started CNET, did Vignette, and I left Salesforce. Started a company called OpenDNS, Google Voice. It's right now it's $183 billion of value and 330 million visitors a day to the companies I've mostly founded, but in the case of Salesforce, co-founded. So yeah, I was out of Salesforce really, and CNET in 2002. When I left in 2001, I owned more of Salesforce than I owned of CNET. So, but I'd run it for 8 years, and obviously love running the company. But so the point I was making was, it ended up being that I created the infrastructure for publishing more than I almost created the content for publishing. And I guess this is kind of the same thing. At CNET, we also produce 5 cable shows, which most people may or may not remember. 4 were on the USA and Sci-Fi Channel. They were all tech. Ryan Seacrest hosted these first 2 shows for us.
Right.
And then we had a show called News.com on CNBC, and it was their tech news show. So I had, quite a lot of experience doing television production way back when. Somebody doing 5 TV shows on cable today would be a pretty big cable television producer, but it ended up being a very small part of our big internet advertising business. And so what we're doing today, I guess you sort of reminded me, is we're building the infrastructure again for video. It's a new way to solve a really significant problem that anyone who is either moving over to do video over the internet or has been doing their business is moving content over the internet. We're doing something that hopefully can make a significant positive dent in their ability to succeed.
Well, let's define what that is, right? From what I understand, it decentralizes the information for processing, streamlines it, decentralizes all the resources, but it sounds to me like, is that working on all of our computers, or is that working on specific servers? I mean, like, where are those resources that the system is based on?
Yeah, decentralized is just it's a fancy word for, we find computers that are sitting in data centers that aren't doing anything right now. We give them a job and we pay them to do it, right? And so it's
not like you're taking over my computer, like the
not unless you offer it up, right?
All right.
And this has been going on forever. I mean, unfortunately, SETI just closed down, but they had millions of computers where people were looking for aliens, and that went on for decades, actually.
It's pretty exciting being part of that project, actually.
And then the largest supercomputer in the world for a little while was the one that was processing, I think, folding proteins for COVID, and that just happened. And so there's been a thread in computing of people turning over their computers and allowing those computers to be used for other things outside of their work. And then we've also had a whole new industries now that say, hey, you've got a car and you're not using it all the time. Why don't you do that? And we're Uber, we'll pay you. Or hey, you're not in your house all the time. We're Airbnb and we'll pay you. Those I always thought were odd businesses, because you had to let somebody, like, in your car or sleep in your bed, which for a lot of people that's difficult. But what we do is doesn't require any of those things. You take our software and you run it in your data center or on your computer, and every computer has a little chip that processes video. That's how you're actually watching me now, because that chip takes the video and it turns a little bit of video into a lot. It compresses it and then decompresses it. And so every chip has that. And so every data center, every computer in every data center can do this. And as it turns out, there is a staggering amount of computers that sit in data centers today that don't do anything. And it's somewhere between 40 and 60% are literally just sitting there with, running electricity. So there are hundreds of projects out there that are all that do very good things. There are people contributing their processing power to cancer and to lots of causes. What we do is we allow companies and individuals who already have have already bought these computers to be able to use them to earn money. And as it turns out, because Amazon charges a lot to process video, and we're competing with Amazon, and we're about a third of the cost. But that actually turns out to be a lot of money that people can make. And along the way, they help people who are in the business of distributing, of encoding video, lower their costs and be more competitive oftentimes with Amazon, because Amazon uses their own AWS to compete with their customers of AWS.
So, I mean, this is all encrypted, of course, using blockchain. So it would be secure, right? Or do you think that there's any way for, if a set of computers goes down that is processing that, it just moves to another set of computers, right? For backup. So,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Those are things blockchain do that make them useful for. But I want to be clear though, right? This whole COVID thing was not running on a blockchain, and the SETI wasn't running on a blockchain either. So you can do these in different ways. It's just that when we look at potentially having hundreds of thousands, possibly even millions of computers who are all running. Being decentralized really just means controlling computers you don't have control over. I think that's kind of the best way of sort of describing it. That's why they're decentralized, because you don't have them in your data center, and we do rely on these when our customers rely on them, and so we have to build that into the way the software works, and blockchain is very good at that.
So what, in order to attract business, right, away from Amazon, for example, like what would be the first thing that you would tell a company, say, jump on board, let's do this project. This is going to be more efficient for you. How do you propose to get started in your first 5 or 10 companies? Is it the price, or is it the encryption technology, or like what, or maybe it's a swifter process? What's the selling?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. And if I didn't actually have if I didn't have a specific experience, I probably couldn't answer it as well as I think I'm going to. When we launched Salesforce, the one thing I knew is that every quarter we would upgrade the software, just like at CNET, every quarter we upgraded our website and got bigger and better. And websites get better all the time. They add new features. And when people have software from these big enterprise software companies like CRM and HR software, these big applications, they don't get upgraded every quarter, every month, or whatever. They get upgraded every 3 years. And so when Salesforce launched, we were about 1/10 the cost. And so I knew we were going to be more innovative, because we were going to constantly be upgrading and upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. But it wasn't even worth telling people that, because we were so much cheaper that you didn't have to. The rest of it they would just find out from their own experience. So he said we're cheaper. So I mean, what is really interesting today is that really any of these companies can make money given the costs of software. I mean, I don't think people fully appreciate what's happened, because we've gone from a world where, it's like a cable channel. All it did was it just sent one signal up to a satellite, and then that signal was received by every cable operator, and that one signal, and they pushed it through their cable channel, and then DirecTV would get it and it would send it back up, and Dish TV would get it and send it back up. So they would send one signal out, and they would reach 90 million homes, 92 million homes. It's incredibly inexpensive for them to be able to do it. And then now all of a sudden you've got, like, nobody wants to watch their cable, nobody wants to watch the DirecTV. Everybody wants to watch it directly, over the web on their iPad. And so now they're paying for streaming for each of these customers that before they had no incremental cost for. So you've taken a business where you basically were given distribution for free, and you've now created an enormous cost to do that. And the problem is that, I think everybody kind of knows this, when you download your Travel Channel app or your Food Channel app, whatever, they don't charge you for that. And so you have all this additional expense that you're taking on today to be able to stream, and you're not getting any more of that, and that's happening everywhere. So it is putting a crushing pressure on the video business today. So, everybody's been reporting that, like, DirecTV will lose like 1.5 million subscribers in a quarter, right? And everyone's like, oh, wow, it's 1.5 million.
Well, they're about to be sold, I think, also, by the way.
Oh, is it right? So it might be 1.5 million subscribers that DirecTV loses. But I mean, you and I know that means that ESPN loses them, and Travel Channel loses them, and all of these cable networks that are getting paid for those subscribers, they're also losing money too, and more people want them to come, on over the internet. And then you've got these things that blow up out of nowhere, like, for instance, doorbells, and then you have, which is very typical for streaming. You have Amazon, who goes in and buys Ring, buys the preeminent one, because Amazon they are the biggest company for doing video encoding and all the video stuff that you need to process video. They can run Ring at cost, and then they can run all the other video doorbell people sort of out of business. But because we can come in at a third of the cost, we actually now kind of we're flipping the script, where running at cost is not enough, because there are people who are getting nothing, and something is better than nothing for those people. And so it's going to be a very interesting world for the next 5 years, because AWS and video is a very profitable business for Amazon.
Do you think that you would try to just sell to enterprise clients? I mean, they're all enterprise, but the really big broadcasters, the big studios, or the big operators of video? Or, I mean, because there's a lot of hand-holding that goes on, and there probably needs to be more hand-holding to some extent, because it's a difficult process. Or are you making it more efficient for them to get into this network? Are you providing a layer of that kind of service? Or I guess there's like two or three questions in that. My first question is, do you think you're going to make it so efficient and so easy to get on that even lower level companies can kind of get a ramp into the streaming business more easily? Or do you think you'll stick with the big enterprise clients?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I also learned from Salesforce is the big enterprises are not going to trust you until you've proven your model. So they're going to sit there and they'll play with you, and they'll do a couple of things and do a test or whatever. But they're not going to, they're not going to do anything. They're willing to spend the extra money because they're Disney, and they can't afford to have something go wrong. So at Salesforce, we typically got, it was weird. We had small companies and we had huge companies, because the huge companies, they couldn't put software at all the different locations that talk to each other. It was too complicated. So they used this, but mostly it was small companies. And I think, but what people also don't realize is that there's a lot more video coming out of doorbells now than there are out of the big movie studios, because, I mean, every single house is creating like 6 movies a day, and it's sending it, right, out to a couple of people. And I mean, the doorbell production, is 100 times, I'm in LA, is 100,000 times the production of Los Angeles today. So you get these, and they are, they're selling really cheap cameras, and they want to make all their money on the streaming. The camera sold at a loss or whatever. So everybody's going to fight for the absolute lowest possible cost, and that's where we'll play until we get more and more sophisticated and more features and ultimately get more trust. And I think ultimately, the goal is to end up in the same place Salesforce is, which is where we have both the most features and functionality, and we have the best cost. And because the one thing that will never happen is Amazon will never be able to match our cost unless they decide to go into the same business we're in. And it's just would be unusual for Amazon to take a very profitable business of theirs and to destroy it by paying a bunch of other companies money to do video processing.
Uh, but using Amazon's offering is still kind of difficult. You still need an engineer to get you going, right? And it's not for the faint of heart. So I kind of think there's an
Well,
opportunity.
you're okay. So you're absolutely correct, and we have actually made it much easier to be able to do that. You do need. I mean, we know because Deva, who's my CTO, he built Intel's video streaming cloud that competed with AWS and Google. So they sold it to Facebook, basically, and it became the foundation for all the Facebook video. And a lot of the guys that Deva hired are now at Facebook, and that's what Deva said. It's just it's too complicated. And I think the thing that Deva I think the thing that Deva is probably most I think he feels like his one of his biggest accomplishments is in the simplicity of the service. When I'm talking to people, though, it's hard because a lot of people don't, they don't know the difference between. I mean, you could understand the difference between something cheap and something not, but when it comes to video, something complex and something not complex, most people don't understand. It's all complex to them. But no, that's very insightful because it is a problem, and it's one that we've actually addressed. And so, if you're looking for two things, if you're looking for a simpler user experience, or and you're looking for lower cost, then we become an even better place for you to use.
That's why I almost think there's a layer there there needs to be a platform that makes it easy for somebody to use. That sort of puts that just something on the web, something that anybody can kind of sign into, and then you might really open it up to a worldwide global marketplace and give you that the plethora of small streaming providers and democratize the video space, and then prove that you're capable of handling that kind of thing at scale for hundreds of thousands of entities.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just
app.
thinking it through, but then the big Disneys and stuff will say,
Yeah, the big Disney, they don't care. I mean, I think there are going to be a lot of small apps that people will, a lot of these big cable networks are going to get knocked down in size, and I think a lot of small little things are going to kind of bloom in their stead. But I think that your idea around making it making it simpler is definitely a direction that the Deva is heading. Has already kind of gone there, and I think we see at Salesforce we called it the 20/80 rule, and not that we didn't invent that, but we lived by it, which was 20% of the features, there was 80% of the functionality, and I think we're kind of trying to do the same thing, which is we want to bring the ability to do video streaming and put it in the hands of as many people as possible, and also make it as affordable as possible. But I don't use the user interface for Amazon Web Services, but I've heard it's ghastly. Like if you want to go, if you want to go and do video production and distribution through video, you need to be a pretty hardcore developer to know what you're doing. It is not for the faint of heart.
I mean, I kind of think that it'd be cool to have something that would democratize all of this. There are so many companies I'm aware of out there who have very high quality content, stuff about space, space-time theory, quantum physics. I like that kind of content. And they do physics lectures and things like this, and it's very high quality, but they don't know how to get out there. There are a lot of entities that give us a call, say, who do I call? Who do I talk to? And there needs to be that layer, that ramp up. And I think also it might be interesting because it could provide you with a community of innovators who want to tap in,
Well, we're
Which I
doing
think would
that.
be exciting.
We're going to start hosting developer contests. We actually have an app for Android that you can get from us, and you can use to create your own channel. So there are things that we've put in place that do allow you to get up, easier. I just, we're I mean, it's very interesting because there are a lot of companies out there, in the blockchain space that have promised a lot of things, and then a lot of those things have not happened. And we 2.5 years ago kind of made a promise about competing with Amazon, and we've delivered that promise, or will tomorrow. And we think we went out at the most logical way, which is really to go against cost. And nobody wants to see their competitor, Amazon, make money off of them, right? So that's really is kind of the first step. When we came out the gate, we wanted to say something about us that everybody would benefit from, and that's really cost. And then now, as we start to mature with the app and start adding additional functionality and stuff, then we can start playing on other virtues. But there is a massive amount of computing capability out there. I mean, you think about how often you use your devices in a day, and you probably use a lot, right? If you look at how many computers, how many times they're actually being used, and this is even true in data centers. I mean, there's so much computing capacity out there in the world that could be absorbed. I mean, my guess is we use about less than 1/10 of the capacity that's actually out there. So there's a really attractive idea, which is to take video, to make the cost, and make it all much more accessible, to really, honestly, not really add any more to the overall carbon footprint, because we're going to go hopefully take it away from Amazon's computers that don't need to be around, and put it in the computers are sitting in data centers doing nothing but with blue light blinking, and that transforms the internet, in video in a very positive way. So this is I think this low cost thing, while we're building up other things, I think this can run for a decade easily. We're just starting.
I want to ask you, I keep thinking of these other questions. Amazon has said that they might be buying AMC theaters. And I'm just wondering if there's something going on there, that streaming theater content, I don't know, maybe not. My next question is, encoding video, right, is very time consuming, really a pain. And so is that something that's going to speed up with your platform, or do you have some kind of secret sauce, some kind of secret technology that's going to help that? Because it's the bane of my existence, it's the bane of a lot of people who make videos existence.
I guess the best answer is no, because you're really limited by the hardware that's out there. So it's not a software process. And the reason that we can do what we do is because literally every chip has a specialized video chip on it, right? So your computer has it, your phone has it, I'm using my iPad has it. This didn't used to be the way, chips had chips for, Intel made chips for doing your spreadsheets and stuff. But some years back, it got to the point where everything that was being sold needed to have video in it. And so video encoders we're putting every chip that everybody makes and sends out, and they're the ones that really define the speed. And so what we do though is, because we run a homogeneous platform with lots of different kinds of chips with different kind of performance attributes, you can say what you're looking for, whether you want more performance and faster, or whether you're willing to wait longer and you'll use something that's less performant. So I guess we give you probably a broader range of choices, but it's just I mean, the companies like Intel, they mostly define the speed at which you're going to be encoding your video, because they make the specific chip that does it. It's not software.
Okay. But back to the business model for a second, because you said that people could rent basically their the servers that aren't being used. But will business be done through Bitcoin or some kind of cryptocurrency? Is that the nature of making money, or will then or how will that be working? Because
yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's particularly interesting because of the fact that you're asking us about that, because we have a very we have the most different approach in the industry, which I think is going to be it's going to be accepted by everybody probably by the end of next year. And so let me explain what we do. So what we do is really simple. We accept credit cards, we accept ACH and wire transfers, and all that money goes to the data centers and computers. They all get it in fiat. And then there are people who stake, and what the people do who stake is they put up money, and if the computer doesn't do what it's supposed to do, they lose money. So it's a way of making sure that people don't spam the network and do all kinds of stuff. And the people who spam can get paid in a combination of either all dollars or all video coin, or they can get paid in some percentage of video coin. This is
video coin your cryptocurrency?
Yeah. So I have felt very strongly, and we're the first ones to do it, that the crypto industry is going to have an almost impossible. I should step back. I built the company that was kind of like Coinbase. It's profitable. It's called Uphold. It's a way of if you have a US, UK, or EU bank account, you can buy crypto. And I built that in 2013. And it's very difficult to get bank accounts for crypto companies, and so most of them. So what's happened is that the entire crypto industry, if you want to use your service, okay, you got to like hire a trading person who has to open a trading account. They've got to go trade and buy money for whatever it is your app. Let's imagine that we had let's imagine you needed the video coin app. So you have to go and let's say you're a good customer and you spend $100,000 a month with us. You have to go and hire a trader to buy $100,000 worth of video coin, and as he's buying it, the price is going up, and then they would buy the $100,000 worth whenever that happened, and then they'd move it over to video coin, and then it would either be going up, down, lower, in price, and of course businesses don't don't gamble, so they can't have money that's going up and down in value. It's antithetical to the way businesses think, and so because this is the way every crypto company works, they have all created a way of preventing acceptance, because when you ask somebody to use a credit card, everybody knows there's some fall off there that happens, right? And what you do is you spend a lot of your time managing so that when the credit card comes up, that you don't lose them there, right? But if instead of a credit card comes up, it goes, oh, go to this exchange, open an exchange account. It'll take you 48 hours. You have to send them your passport. and then send from your bank account, send dollars there, and then take those dollars, and then with those dollars you buy my token, and then you send my token over to me, and it's going to go up and down in price while it's sitting here, okay? And if that's the way you operate your business, no one's going to do it. No one. And no one is. And no one is. So what we did was, from the very beginning, we built a payment system that's completely, yeah, you can, even if you don't have a bank account, you can still, as a company, you can still accept credit cards, ACH, wire transfer. We need it, and you know, we have these weird attributes, right? So it costs money to open a bank account, and if you've got a data center and you've got, you know, 500 computers, you don't want to open up 500 bank accounts for them. So what happens is just you have your data center, and instead of some crypto kind of coin coming over, you're just getting dollars that are coming over, and you see your little console and you have dollars and you put in your bank, and then we send the money to your bank. So our whole system works totally based on dollars. Credit cards for or wire transfers if they're bigger, and then the data center, and then the data centers, they all get dollars. So you say, well, okay, where does the crypto coin fit in this whole kind of, you know, this whole world? And the way it fits into our world is that if you have a data center or even a single computer, you have to put up a little bit of value, which is in video coin, in order to get work. And the more video coin, the more money you put there, the more work you get, right? Up until the point where you're, you know, full of work. And so it serves a couple of purposes. The first purpose it serves is stopping people from doing really bad things on the network, because if they do that, then we take some of their money. The second thing it does is, if they say they're going to perform services, and they perform them and then they stop performing them, like imagine live video and then you stop in the middle of it, well, you lose money. And so these tokens that we have to, the data centers don't have to buy them. Other people can buy them and can put them, you know, effectively on top of the data center. And the data centers that have more of these tokens on top, they get more work. And the data centers give the token holders some of the money that they receive. So what it really does is
it's a data commodities market.
It serves as a way that we can make sure that the people who are participating in our ecosystem, because we don't know them, they have to attract people who are willing to put up their tokens and lose their money if the underlying data center does not perform. So it creates a good guy policy or good girl policy. And it's the token that does that. And the token gets, I mean, you know, right now the token gets about 16% of the revenue that comes out of the transaction. So it's a pretty high amount of revenue, and they'll change over time based on a bunch of different parameters. But it's a pretty significant amount of the revenue that goes. But like I said, they're going to take some risk. That, you know, if they put their staking tokens with a data center that, you know, is not legit, and they try to do something to, you know, to harm our network in some way, they're going to lose some of that money. So, you know,
I think that there's not enough confidence or awareness in the value of these data centers. People think they're these abstract, you know, gray places, but they know that data drives every aspect of their life. It's almost like they need to be humanized, glamorized, commodified, like, why wouldn't you want to invest in this data center that named something more exciting? They
Well,
need to
yeah, I mean,
be
if you're a data center,
transformed
you'd
into a
want to take
commodity.
pictures.
What?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're a data center, you'd want to, you'd want to take pictures and have the names of people there, and you'd want to do everything you can.
It
I
needs a
mean,
rebranding, the whole thing.
yeah. So every data center that wants to participate, they're going to do things to try to get people to put tokens on top of them to get as much work as they and all they're going to do is they're just going to give up some percentage of what they get. Now, they may be a great data center, but they're not offering up as big a percentage as somebody else who has a great data center, and then that's where the tokens go. But this,
Although if the average person could invest in this and treat it like, an opportunity to grow, and because everybody's sharing in the video marketplace, and to
that's
make,
right.
just like we were
Oh no,
talking
it's a
about
great way to participate. I actually, as I actually think it's creating, and I'll tell you, the SEC has been really just trying to make this a very difficult thing, because if I were just to give my token holders a percentage of revenue, that would be considered a dividend. And if that's a dividend, then it would be a security. And if it's a security, then it can't ever be sold, unless I do it through NASDAQ or something. But because staking is different, you actually can lose your money if you do it, and you don't get paid unless you're staking on the
but then it's gambling.
Yeah, it's not actually. It actually requires all those to stake to do some homework. I mean, they need to make sure that they're running on top of a data center that's not going to go down and cost them some of their and cost them some of their tokens. The stakers are the ones who actually go out and do the work for us, because they're the ones who win or lose based on how well the actual data centers perform. So it's because we don't control this world of servers, we've created a whole bunch of people who are going to have a very large incentive to make sure that they put their money, with the right group.
Sounds like server cowboys.
Yeah.
Server cowboys.
Yeah. So I mean, in the end, I think our token, plays a really important role actually in the process. But all of these projects where the token is supposed to be used as payment, because I'll give you one more bad step in the token payment thing. So not only do I have to go and buy my token at an exchange and move it over to use my network, but then my token ends up in the wallet of a data center, and now he's got the vid token, which is not $1. Now he's got to go to an exchange, and what does he do? He's got to hire somebody to sell it, because every time he sells it, he drives my price down, right? And so you've got an entire industry, literally of I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 companies who have all made their entire business model around using volatile tokens to run their ecosystem, which is so interesting, because the one thing we learned about Bitcoin is that it was too volatile to use for consumer payments. I mean, that was the one thing that became very, very clear. Now it's gold, people call it different things, but nobody talks about it as being a consumer, for consumer payments. And consumers will actually roll the dice with their money more than businesses will, because businesses will never roll the dice. So, if you require somebody to build a currency, to use a currency that goes up or down 10% in a day or 15% a day, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do that. So this is a really important thing that's happening, because, we're one of the first to have this business model that takes on AWS and these kinds of companies, and that's actually launching. It's real. We are the first that is just all dollars, so we are head to head straight up competitive with Amazon when it comes, or Google when it comes to ease of use. In some ways, actually, it's a longer conversation, but in some ways, our payment system is actually even better than theirs. But I can say it is definitely at least equal to theirs. And so, what I hope is that sort of the industry kind of takes a cue from this, and what we see is that people have these ideas. We're in the crypto world. They start making their ideas more accessible by making their payment more accessible, and ultimately choosing, to use their tokens for this kind of staking role, and for using regular old payments, boring old credit cards, is the way that you interact with your customer.
I think we need a complete rebranding, renaming. It needs some work. But I am excited to see what happens when you're launching. You're launching tomorrow, I think.
Tomorrow it all happens.
So I think we'll be seeing quite a lot. I'm sure it'll be in the news, and we'll see you grow. Maybe you should call Zoom and see if they need some help. Right?
And I think they're doing fine.
Okay. Or all these web streaming platforms, because it's going to be growing and growing. But thank you so much.
Well, hopefully we'll get back to work. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I mean, I'm a streaming company, but I'd really kind of like people to get back and like talking to people again.
We're in the business of producing live conferences and stuff, and so I'm massively pivoting. We're about to our virtual conference.
Oh, are you? Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. Aren't you? Yeah.
TV of tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
coming out soon.
Yeah. Who knows where the new middle is? You're
going to have to be digitized and go into space. Another story.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Halsey. I really appreciate your sharing all these insights. This was a nice, long, detailed show. I hope people will get a lot out of it. So I appreciate your sharing it with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Halsey is
got me out of sitting in this boring office with not a single person roaming around.
That's because it's your digital facsimile. Okay, so liveplanet.net.
Videocoin.io is where LivePlanet's the parent company. Videocoin.io, that is where that's where the application. The video application is. LivePlanet is just the parent company. This is one of our products.
Well, let us know if you do a hackathon or a developer day or something like that. We'd sure like to check in.
Okay.
And, he is supportive. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It's great.
I'm Tracy Swedlow, and this is Televisionation. Please contact me if you'd like to be on, chat with us, be part of our virtual event coming out, TV of Tomorrow Show, on air. Leadership Congress. Thank you so much. Bye.